What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with Tesla, SPY, and a couple of other tickers, and also some big things involving the economic data that just came out. But before I break down all this information, before I talk about what's happening with Tesla stock and the market, let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. This offer ends very, very soon, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about the market. How are things looking? So we just had some data that just came out, and the JOLTS job openings aligned with expectations. We also have job quits, which came out. I think that I'm waiting for this to actually update, but at this point, it doesn't really matter as much. This came out about 45 minutes ago. And then besides that, let me just mention that we also have a bunch of Fed speakers coming out, and job quits was actually aligned with expectations, very close to it. But going back, we have Bowman giving a speech, Williams, Mester, Daly, all these Fed speakers coming out for the rest of the day. There's not really much else coming out. All the data is very minor from this point on. But for tomorrow, I want to warn you all that tomorrow we have a lot of important manufacturing data coming out and more services data, which is going to be important for new orders and then these different sectors, which kind of like impact inflation and things like that. So that some data is coming out for tomorrow morning. And then we also have Jerome Powell giving a speech and a bunch of Fed speakers approaching that. So we'll have to see what Jerome Powell says, which will still affect the markets. So my view of the market is the fact that we are on a bit of a decline right now on SPY and the others. We may actually decline a bit approaching Powell's speech. And then after his speech is done, we'll see what the big reaction is. So I'm going to first talk about Tesla, then break down all these tickers. Tesla's looking bearish right now. We got this big drop after the fact that their deliveries were not the best. In case you missed my other video, I gave you guys another video about this, how they only did 386,000 deliveries versus like 420 plus thousand expected. Production was only 433,000, not the best as well. The Chinese sales did improve a bit in March compared to February. That's because of like Chinese New Year and stuff. But at the same time, their quarter over quarter and year over year were not so good in China as well. So Tesla's on a big decline. You guys can see it's been, it was just shuffling around 165, but there is a risk of this losing it. Our next critical support is actually closer to like 162. That's the really strong support. And also 160, this entire zone right here. If Tesla loses 162 to 160, a bigger drop is coming to the 150s. And right now, I think that it's trying to base very close to 165. So it might be a slow decline from here, but I still want to note that the chart is bearish. Our key resistance is going to be this 167 range. But like I said before, we're on a decline. We're looking bearish, so I do see a risk of more downside. Zooming out of the chart, just like this, you can see there's a clear bearish trend that's been developing right here. It's been just continuing to drop and drop and drop and drop. And you guys can see right here, we have a nice kind of like coupling structure. So it looks bearish, and I do see a risk of this continuing to decline. So just be careful with Tesla. For SPY, it's the same thing or something very similar. It's looking bearish because right here, you can see that there was this big rejection that came. SPY ended up losing this structure right here, this white trend line. We lost it. We got a back test. So we lost it, got a back test during the end of the day yesterday. And this was another liquidity grab before they smacked it back down. So 516.5 is key support alongside 515. Watch resistance at 517.5 and then 518. We look a little bit more bearish, and I do see a risk of this coming back down a little lower. So we are looking more bearish approaching Jerome Powell's speech, and we'll see if Powell causes some kind of bounce or not. But overall, the trend is still favoring the bears for the time being. SPY is looking a little bit weaker than before. So just be careful, guys. Watch 516.5 and 515. If we lose 515, we could decline all the way down to this lower levels, like this support right here, like 513.5 and beyond. I'm not too worried about that yet, though. We're trying to base at like 516.5, so we'll just be waiting for that first. For the QQQ, this is looking a bit more bearish. We have 438 as key support. We have resistance at 440. If we lose 438, look for a decline to about 437 flats. And then if we lose that, there's 436 and 434. We look a bit more bearish to me. I think that we're trying to base at 438. We're trying to hold this support. We're seeing some algo stepping in, defending it as order flow is kind of shifting, but we still look bearish overall. We're still on a bearish trend. This trend is still very, very weak if you actually zoom out. And the QQQ is looking more and more like it just broke this structure at 442, and that's going to cause an even bigger decline. Looking at this, let me actually zoom out a little bit more. I want to show you something else. I'm going to hide my indicators for a second. So looking at this in terms of just candlesticks, looks bearish, and you guys can see that We tend to see a lot of activity down here, in the mid to lower 430s. So there is a risk of an even bigger decline on the QQQ. But we have to lose this key support first at 438. So for now, we're just going to pay attention to that. How about Nvidia? Nvidia is looking a little bit weak. I did warn everyone that we had this range on Nvidia. So the range is actually, I'm going to actually change the colors of these. This is actually a little bit misleading. So this should be a little thinner. I'm going to make this back to blue. Our range was actually right here. And what basically happened was we lost the range pretty fast. Right here, we had 908 as critical resistance. We had support at 892. We were back and forth for about almost 3.5 days. And then today we lost 892, coming all the way down to 877. You could see how well it held these supports over here. And then if we lose that, there's 872 coming, followed by 865. So I do see a risk of that if we lose 877. If we lose 877, we could get very, very close to 865. And for resistance, watch 885. If we break past that, watch 892. Overall, the trend on Nvidia is looking a little bit weaker. Nvidia could see a bit more of a decline. We saw this nice pump yesterday because they were getting ready for this dump. So this was all planned, and I think that Nvidia has more potential. So when you zoom out of the chart like this, you could also see that we have a head and shoulders like structure. We have this left shoulder here. Or you can actually see the left shoulders like here. The head is up here, and this is the right shoulder. This could pop a bit, shuffle a bit, and then eventually decline more. So there is a risk of this dropping more. So just be very, very careful out there if you're trading Nvidia. For Apple, Apple's on a big decline as well. We're watching the support right here at around 168. You can see it was trying to base here, but I do see a risk of it dropping lower. If you lose that, watch 167.5. I'm only calling out these very small, tight levels because Apple's very tight, but I do see a risk of more downside. For other tickers out there, I know a lot of people want me to talk more about them. We also had Coinbase, which was a really, really nice play because we had a very, very clean looking head and shoulders like structure, and there is a risk of this playing out more. Could we push to fill this gap and then drop more? Yes, we can, or we could just drop from here. But this is a very, very clean setup. I called out this setup yesterday, the head and shoulders on here. I said Amazon may decline to 178. That's what I said yesterday. That's what happened today. Now we're still kind of stuck here. So we have resistance at 180 and we have support at 178.5. Whichever way we break will determine the bigger move. So watch for that. For Meta, we're also stuck in a range. We were trying to break out, so now we're kind of stuck going back and forth and back and forth. So I'm going to be watching our support around 485 right here. Let me just show you what this looks like. And then we have our resistance right here. It's very simple. It's actually the entire zone. So like 493 to 494, like this entire area is kind of like our resistance zone. I'm going to just keep it at like this 494 area, so like around here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's like pretty close. It also has to do with this EMA right here, so that's why I kind of rejected a bit early, but very close to that area is where we have this resistance zone. I'm going to actually draw this out a little bit differently. But anyways, that's why this is trading the way it is, and we'll have to see how this responds to these different levels. But right here, this is where we have this zone of resistance. We'll see what it does from here, but it's been stuck going back and forth and back and forth. This actually goes all the way far, like back for many, many weeks, if anything. So for Meta, I would just watch this range. Whichever way it breaks will determine the bigger move. If we break past this resistance, a bigger push could come. If we lose support, it's going to decline as well. And we also have Microsoft. We have resistance at 420, and we're on a bit of a decline right here, so it could actually sink a bit more. If we fail to break 420. If we do break above it, we could be looking for 422 plus. So watch and see if we could hold 420, look for 422 plus. If we fail there, we're going to be getting a big rejection. The trend is a little bit bearish, but I'm just going to be patient on this just to see if we get a bounce or not. So with that being said, guys, that's it for the market right now. Things are shifting a lot. I think the market may remain a bit more bearish until we get to Jerome Powell's speech tomorrow, and then we'll see what Jerome Powell causes. But for now, watch your levels, do what you have to do, and just know there is some weakness on the charts. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon in my later video in a couple of hours. Take care and peace out.